Good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine from SEB Housing, and this is the information session for the 2 affordable condominiums being made available at 34 Fairbanks Road in Milton. And the purpose of this session is to share a little bit more information, background information on the condos. We're also going to cover the application, eligibility, and lottery processes, and what to expect after the lottery itself. If you have any questions during the session, you're encouraged to go ahead and either type them into the Zoom chat, or I'll be asking throughout the presentation if anyone has questions, so you can unmute yourself at that point. When you came into the Zoom session, you were automatically muted, just to try to minimize any outside noise. So this live session is also being recorded. It will be saved to SEB Housing's YouTube channel later on tonight. So it'll be available in case anyone missed the session. If you have any questions after tonight's session, something that you didn't think of as we were here, you can connect to us by email at info@sebhousing.com. That's the quickest, easiest way to get in touch with us. But if you prefer to call, that's perfectly fine as well. The number is on your screen here, so the 617 number. For the beginning of this call, I believe we are going to have the development team for 34 Fairbanks on the call. I don't know if you're here yet, Elaine, but if you have any questions. Oh, you are, okay.
And
okay.
Yeah, Elaine, I'm with Northland Residential.
Great. Yep, so Elaine's here. I'm going to give her an opportunity, or give everyone here an opportunity to ask any, specific questions, potentially about the features of the unit or its neighborhood, the location. That's a good opportunity for you to be able to ask directly since Elaine is here. Before that, just want to give you a quick background on who we are at SEB Housing. So SEB Housing is an off-site affordable housing consulting group. So we've been hired by the developer to market the affordable condos, conduct this information session, collect and review applications to determine an applicant's eligibility for the affordable housing program, and then to eventually run the lottery. So we're not part of the sales team for the units. We haven't seen them in person, but in the initial phases, we will be your main point of contact rather than the sales team. Further along in the process, though, you'll have more direct contact with the owner if you're invited to move forward towards purchasing one of the condos after the lottery. So there's 2 broad steps in the process. We'll be talking about them throughout the session tonight. The first step is to apply for the affordable housing program. That's when you'll be in touch with SEB Housing. We can answer any questions you might have on the affordable housing program. We'll do a preliminary review of your application. And if you're eligible during that, after that preliminary review, we will enter you into the lottery and give you a position on the waiting list after the lottery drawing. And then the second step in the process involves reserving and buying a condo. So your opportunity to do that will depend on your wait list placement following the lottery. A lot of the information I talk about tonight is going to be from the information packet. And if you haven't already, it's on our website. You can take a look at that. There's information about the process, the condos themselves. But before I go any further, I want to give anyone who's on the call an opportunity to ask if you have any specific questions related to the property itself. Now is the time to do it, since Elaine from Northland Residential is here. And then just hold any questions that you have related to the application lottery process, because I'll be going through most of that in a few minutes. So feel free to either type them in, unmute yourself if you have questions on the property or its amenities, etc.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I'm wondering if the units have access to, is there a walk-up attic? Is there access to the basement?
There is access to the basement. There'll be washer and dryer facilities in the basement. And as far as the attic, no. it is not a walk-up attic. We do intend to install separate storage areas for each unit, and you'll find that there'll be more than ample storage in that basement as a result of that.
So if it's not a walk-up, does that mean that only the upstairs unit has access to the attic then?
There's virtually no attic. There'd be a pull down to just you know, access whatever is in the attic, but no, we don't have you know, a staircase up to the attic.
Okay. But there is a garage, correct?
Yes, there is a two-car garage, yes. And there will be a space within the garage for each unit, one parking area in the garage.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Could you also speak to what the backyard is like, and like access from the street, and what the residents would be able to use in the space behind the house?
Sure. There's very little green area behind the house. It's basically asphalt. If you're looking for green space, you know, there's a beautiful school right down the street, the Pierce Middle School, that has all sorts of playgrounds and sports courts and that kind of thing. But it is basically asphalt in the back with a very, very small yard. And in the front, if you've seen the pictures, it's landscaped. So there would be not too much green space there either.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else with specific questions about the property? We'll get on to the more of the nuts and bolts of applying and the actual affordable housing program, but now's the time for anybody. I think a few people just joined. Elaine from Northland Residential is on the call now. So if anyone has specific questions about the features of the unit, the neighborhood, that sort of thing, now's the time to ask those questions that you maybe did not see answers to in the information packet.
Hi, I was wondering if I could ask a question.
Sure.
Sure.
Can we find out who currently owns the house?
Northland Residential. One of our entities, Walcott Residential LLC, is the owner of the property.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? I think there was one other person who started to ask something a moment ago.
Yes, I was gonna say, are we able to see it in person or no?
Absolutely. Once we have, or you have gone through the process and qualified, what I'll do is I'll have an open house and I'll take everybody who is qualified through the house personally to introduce them to the property.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I have a question before you get started. So sorry. Can out of state people apply for the lottery, or do you have to be a Massachusetts resident?
Yep, anyone can apply. You don't need to be a resident of Massachusetts. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else with questions on the property before we get on to the, I encourage, there's no time limit on that, so I don't want to cut it short. This is part of the presentation. So if any other questions, if you have any other questions about the property itself that you'd like answered now, go ahead and ask.
Would you be able to speak to what kind of updates are going to be done into the kitchens and baths?
Actually, when we purchased the property, The kitchens and the bathrooms had already been updated. We went as far as to install shower stall enclosures on the showers. And we will be doing repairs. Actually, we've performed repairs on the rear entry. The back porch stairs have been replaced, and the landing and rail system at the back. And there are a number of kind of what I would call housekeeping things that we'll be addressing, and actually have already addressed with respect to the windows and the gutters and the siding. But all in all, the house was in excellent shape. The hardwoods are impeccable, really well done. The appliances are virtually new. It's in very, very good shape. We paid over $1 million for this property, and it really is a testament to, I think, an above grade condominium it's in the area. The well-established neighborhood, it's a lovely older neighborhood with similar homes, and all very well maintained, which is nice. The outside of the properties are consistently well maintained, which again is another asset to anybody buying this property.
Would you say that the pictures that are online are on some of the different real estate websites? Would you say that those pictures of the homes are consistent with what we would see?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, what I have is the pictures that of the listing when we bought it, which is what I would expect what Catherine has posted. And I can attest to the fact that the house is in that same condition. It's impeccable inside.
I was actually just looking at redfin.com. I didn't.
Yeah, like I said, I
Yeah.
don't know specifically, but
Okay.
it was on MLS, and what often happens is Redfin will pick up the MLS listing and run
Right.
with it. If you're looking at a picture of the kitchen, there's a beautiful tiled backsplash in both kitchens. It's kind
I'm
of a
sharing
gray
that picture now. I don't know if anyone can see it yet, but I just put up the picture of the kitchen there.
Yeah, yeah. And then each one of them has a sun porch in the back. I mean, yeah, a sun porch in the back, and then a lovely sun room off of the living room, which would be great for a home office or a child's play area. It's, heated. So that's a beautiful asset. Trying to think what else I can tell you about it. It's I think it is one of the finer listings that we've had with respect to affordable condominiums. So fireplaces both work. Each fireplace in each unit works. So you have a wood burning fireplace, and these pictures illustrate the shape of the hardwood floors. They're gleaming.
Mhm.
So I think I'd be hard pressed to find anybody, I think, that wouldn't find this opportunity to be very appealing.
Yeah, the pictures are great. I'm just scrolling through them a little bit now. That's the pantry.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Living
Beautiful.
room here.
Yeah. It's got good closet space in both bedrooms too, which is nice. And there are additional closets tucked here and there. So you'd have ample storage. And again, as I said, the basement is comprised of the footprint of the house. And we will be constructing what I call cages, for storage that will be dedicated to each unit, one per unit.
Anyone else on specifics of the property?
Speaking of the basement, is it good and dry or is it musty down there?
It's unusually dry.
Oh, wow.
And when you pay a visit, should you qualify, I don't think you would detect a musty smell there. No.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
Can I ask a
Is this
question?
the one?
I'm
I
sorry.
have a
Sorry?
question.
Yeah.
I logged in late. Is this the 1 bedroom or the 2 bedroom that you're showing right now?
Each of
Unit.
these 2 units, upstairs and down, each of them has 2 bedrooms.
Oh, okay. I see. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I wanted to ask, is there off-street parking? I thought I read something about a parking garage.
Absolutely. Yep, there's a garage there, and it will have a dedicated parking space, one dedicated parking space in the garage for each unit. So each unit will have one parking space in the garage.
And then Elaine, was there also a spot behind the garage on each side? Is that what I saw?
No,
Just
there
the one garage,
really
okay.
is- I would say one garage. I can say though, that there's ample parking on the street.
Mhm.
It's not heavily trafficked street. I do believe, if I were living there, I'd feel safe leaving my car on the street overnight. It's, a lovely neighborhood.
Yeah,
They
so
don't
is the
allow-
garage kind of big and it will fit 2 cars?
Yeah, it just fits 2 cars. It does.
Okay. Can you tell me how old the house is?
It was built in 1922, and it
1920.
has the character of an older home. If you see the pictures, you can see the gumwood trim
Right.
and the coffered ceilings, the mantles around the fireplaces, the hardwood floors, like I said. So it has the nicer elements of an older home, yet the kitchen and the bath have been upgraded and renovated.
So it has
There's
updated.
a updated bath and updated kitchen. If you look at the pictures of the dining room, you'll see a built-in china cabinet. Again,
Right.
it was built in 1922, so that would be something you'd see in a house of that age.
Right.
I personally think is beautiful. So
Yeah, it does look beautiful there.
it really is.
Yeah.
If and when I have the opportunity to show it to you, I'm certainly very proud of it, and I can't believe that anyone wouldn't be happy. The other nice feature with the kitchen is that it's gas cooking.
Is it also heated by gas?
Yes. Yep. Hot water radiators by gas.
Okay.
So the plumbing and electricity have been updated?
Yep. They're up to code. Yeah.
Okay, and how old is the roof? If
We
you-
had
if you
it
know.
inspected. We don't have records from the former owner specific to the age of the roof. However, it has been inspected and it's been deemed that it's in good condition. But as a gesture to the new homeowners, what we as the developer are going to do is put $5,000 into the capital reserve fund that would fund a future replacement, or would start to fund a future replacement if and when you need to replace it.
Are there in-person showings of the unit or just what you're showing now?
I would be more than happy to do it to those individuals who have gone through the application process and qualified.
Okay,
I'll be hoping
so I've completed
individuals
the
show it.
application already.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
we can set up appointments for individuals whose applications have been approved. And I'm happy
Okay.
to do one-on-one showing.
Okay. I don't know who has been
Catherine,
approved, but I received an email saying that my application was successfully processed, but I don't know.
Sure. What I would suggest is when you get the email saying that it's been approved and you have your lottery number, let us know that
Yep.
you're interested in seeing the home in person, and we can put you in touch with Elaine, so you can set that up.
yeah,
Okay, so do I just email SEB Housing?
Yep, just
For that?
info@sdbhousing.com. You'll get an email from us once your application has been fully processed. You'll get a lottery application number.
Yeah, I think I have a number already
Sure.
they had sent me. Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay.
just info@sdbhousing.com, and we can,
yeah.
so just so we know who you are, and we can put you in touch with Elaine at Northland.
Catherine
Okay.
will send
Thank you.
your information and I'll reach out to you and we'll make an appointment for you to come see it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Can I came in just a little bit late and I'm just trying to figure out who's who. So I'm not sure whose number I'm looking at, the 694-3908 number.
That would be me. I'm Elaine and I'm with Northland Residential.
So Elaine's here from the development team answering questions at the top of this session
Okay.
about the specifics of the condos, the home itself, the neighborhood, that sort of thing, the features of the property. And then once we've answered all the questions on that topic, I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation about the application process, the affordable housing program, qualifying for it, and all of that.
Okay, and did you say North End Residential?
Northland.
No, it's Northland, L-A-N-D.
Okay,
One word. Yeah,
thank you, ma'am.
certainly.
Anyone else? Questions that haven't been answered about the property, features, neighborhood, that sort of stuff? Thank you, Elaine, for all of the information.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Much appreciated.
And I do hope to meet everybody in the very near future so I can show them this home. It's absolutely wonderful, and I think it represents a terrific opportunity. It really, truly does. It's handsome in every respect.
It looks great. I love the attention to detail and the character in those type of homes.
Yeah, it's timeless in that respect, and it's had the update. So it's the best of both worlds, really.
They don't make them like they used to, right? The
Yeah.
beautiful woodwork,
I
No,
agree.
they don't.
especially the China cabinet. It's a killer. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Can I ask just one more question?
sure.
Are the windows fairly new?
The windows are newer than 1922, I can tell you that. We went through and we inspected each and every window, doors, screens, everything. For those that needed to be repaired, we repaired them. For those that needed to be replaced, we replaced them. And then they'll be cleaned prior to closing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, my reception faded out there for a second. Did you say that you were going to be replacing the windows before closing?
What we did is we went through and we inspected each and every window and door on the property, as well as the screens. And those that could be repaired were repaired. those that needed to be replaced were replaced.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The relative, you know, when we bought it, the house was in excellent shape and the windows were relatively new. I can't give you a date as to when they were replaced, but they're not the original windows.
Great. Any last questions for Elaine? All right, thanks so much.
I have a question real quick.
Yep. Mhm.
I was reading that the basement is unfinished. So will that be taken care of before someone takes the property, or will it be
No, they
the owner?
will remain, the basement will remain in the
Uh-huh.
condition it's in. It is unfinished. However,
Yep.
we intend to install 2 storage units, 1 for each unit. And that's where the laundry facilities are.
Okay.
We're going to be installing a washer and dryer for each
In the
unit.
basement.
So you'll
In the
have
basement,
one washer
right?
and dryer.
Yep.
In the basement. Yep.
Okay.
Your own washer and dryer and your own storage unit in the basement.
Okay. So then it'll be up to the owner, whoever takes the property, to fix the unfinished basement, basically.
Well, I don't think you're going to be finishing the basement. How would you finish it?
Because it's a joint
No, because
space, right?
you're saying it's unfinished. I'm thinking in my head it's more construction to be done or something. What do you mean by
Oh,
unfinished? You mean yeah.
No, it has a cement floor,
Oh, okay.
and it's you know, it's a immaculately clean basement level. You wouldn't need to go in and put up walls or anything else.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
just
see.
left in its original state when they built it, but it's
Oh, I
immaculate.
see. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Place
it's
to
one
store
big,
it.
huge, it's one big room. It's not like part of the basement is for one unit and part is for another. There's nothing separated.
That is correct.
Same-
It's open. However, we do intend to carve out 2 spaces for storage. One will be for one unit, the second will be for the second unit, and I call them cages, you know, they're wire, if you will, but they'd be locked. So if you had things that you wanted to put in there, you could put your personal things in there.
And the washers and dryers, the owners will put in themselves.
No, we will be installing the washer and dryer for each unit.
Okay. But there will be nothing separating them from
Correct.
each other.
Correct. They'll stand side by side, if you will.
Great, thank you, Elaine. Any last questions for Elaine before we start on the application eligibility process?
Can this live be saved? It's sent to my email or no? Because I missed the beginning.
Yep, so yeah, it's being recorded and it'll be posted to our YouTube channel, but there's a link that will be posted to the website listing. Or you can go to YouTube and just type in SCB Housing Fairbanks and it'll come up.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, Elaine, I appreciate it. If applicants mention that they would like to have that tour after they have been approved by SCB for the lottery, I will let you know, and we'll be in touch about that.
Please do, and good luck, everyone.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Okay. Take care now.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so like I mentioned, if you
Thank
haven't
you.
already, sure. If you haven't already done so, there is a website listing for 34 Fairbanks on our website. So if you go to scbhousing.com and you click on affordable housing opportunities and you select I want to buy on that page, you're going to see a page specific to 34 Fairbanks Road. In that listing, there's a downloadable version of the application, a template of the sample deed rider, and which will be finalized prior to closing, and then the information packet. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, the information packet has most of the material I'm going to be covering during this session. I won't have time to cover everything though, and a lot of what Elaine just mentioned about the property isn't in there, but I'll be reviewing the main points of that. Even if you attend this session, we do always recommend that you take a look at the info packet so you have that information. And if you're interested in the property, just taking a look at that. So if you choose to apply to purchase an affordable condo at 34 Fairbanks, you'll need to complete that affordable unit application. You can then submit it to us in one of several ways. You can email it to us to info@fdbhousing.com. You can fax it to us. The fax number is listed on the first page of the application. You can send it by regular mail, or you can drop it in our 24-hour secure drop box. If you're located near Needham, that's where our office is. We are located at 257 Hillside Ave, and the drop box is located on the left side of the building. It is secure and it's checked each day. So pick whichever one of those options works best for you. We encourage you to get your lottery application in early. It is fairly brief, should only take you about 10 minutes to complete. No supporting income, asset, or tax documentation is needed at the early stage just to get into the lottery, but you do need to submit a mortgage pre-approval with your application. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few moments. Applications are due by July 21st, and they must be delivered or postmarked by that date in order to be considered. You do not need to be a resident of Milton to apply for the lottery. However, households who qualify for local preference will have priority on the waiting list for one of these two condos. I'll touch on that a little bit more later on, but that should not at all defer anyone from applying if they don't qualify for local preference. All right, so we've kind of already went through most of the information about the property, but these are 2-bedroom condos. They're going to be sold at an affordable price to households with incomes at or below 80% of the area median income for the Boston area. The affordable sales price for each condominium is $264,000. There is a $230 monthly HOA fee, so a monthly condo fee. And these prices, as I'm sure anyone who's looking for a home right now knows, are significantly below what a market rate condo would be selling for in Milton. From what I can see online, condos in Milton are selling, between $500,000 and $800,000. Again, we went through most of this already, but each of the units has an updated kitchen and bath, a sunroom. There's a fireplace in each of the units' living room. There's a dining room. There are finished hardwood floors throughout. The basement is going to have dedicated storage space and laundry facilities with a washer and dryer included. And there is a 2-car garage, and there will be a deeded exclusive use of one of those spots for each of the condo owners. The condos are located within walking distance to Pierce Middle School. Elaine mentioned that that's a nice grassy area for anyone looking for a park, and it's close to MBTA bus service as well. So since these homes are going to be sold at affordable prices, like I said, they're only being made available to households with incomes at or below that 80% of area median income, which is referred to as AMI. So AMIs are amounts that the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is HUD, releases each spring. And then Milton, like I said, is in the Boston area. So since these are affordable homes, they're going to have what's called a deed rider filed along with the deed at the time of purchase. So this ensures that the homes will remain affordable in the future, even when the initial owner chooses to sell the property. So just a quick overview of what you're going to see in the deed rider. A deed rider limits the amount for which you can eventually resell the property. So this opportunity isn't for you if you're looking to buy the home, flip it, resell it within a year or two, it doesn't mean you wouldn't be able to sell it for more than what you paid for it, but it will have to be resold to another affordable buyer. So you might have some return on investment, but you shouldn't expect the same type of appreciation that market rate homes might see in the area. There is a formula for the resale price of the affordable properties, and there's an example of that towards the end of the information packet. I think it's on the last page, actually. And the formula itself is based off of the area median income. Something else that you're going to see in the deed rider is that this home must be your primary residence. Generally, you're not able to rent it out as an investment property on Airbnb or Vrbo or anything like that. And then thirdly, so if you would like to refinance or make capital improvements, such as a new roof, that sort of thing, the state agency that oversees the affordable housing program would need to approve of that. These are renovated homes. A lot of work has been done. There is going to be that replacement reserve fund that Elaine mentioned. It's going to have $5,000 in it to start off, and just keep that in mind as well. So I mentioned the mortgage pre-approval is required to be submitted along with your lottery application. We suggest that after you review the information packet, if you're interested in this opportunity, you should just make a copy of page 10 or rip it out. That is the page that lists the required mortgage pre-approval standards for this housing opportunity. You want to bring it to your mortgage lender, your bank, and show it to them. And the reason I say that is because you want to make sure that the mortgage product that they're offering you meets the necessary standards for the affordable housing program. You might also want to bring a sample deed rider with you, which is posted as a PDF on our website listing for 34 Fairbanks. So you'll see the information packet, the application, and that sample deed rider. Some of the information in the deed rider can be problematic for some lenders, so that's why you want to make sure that they see it before offering you a loan. Certain loans won't accept all the terms of the deed rider. For example, the loan has to have a fixed interest rate throughout the term of the mortgage. It also can't be an FHA or VA loan, since those types of loans don't accept the deed restriction. You don't want to be in a situation, of course, where you've been pre-approved for a loan, but then the lender then backs out at the time of purchase once they've been made aware of those resale restrictions that are associated with an affordable housing purchase. Along those lines, we just want to mention that in our experience, it's been very difficult for applicants to successfully close on an affordable property with Bank of America as their lender. So we recommend that you don't use Bank of America for your pre-approval or mortgage. It just seems that their mortgage products are not suited for these affordable homes or this affordable program. But with that said, you can select any bank or lender that you choose. We just recommend that you choose someone who has, or choose a lender that has experience with affordable housing. There's a link on page 8 of the information packet that's going to direct you to Massachusetts Housing Partnership's website. Their site is a great resource to find lenders that are familiar with affordable housing. The mortgage pre-approval also states that you must provide a down payment of at least 3% of the purchase price. So half of that, 1.5%, needs to come from your own funds. So if you have someone gifting you 1.5%, that's fine. They just can't gift you more than the 1.5%. Your loan or mortgage, since you're going to have that 3% total down payment, your loan or mortgage can be up to 97% of the purchase price. Any questions on that general upfront information before I move on to the eligibility requirements for the affordable housing program? All right. So the eligibility requirements for the actual affordable housing program, there's 4 eligibility requirements that are listed on page 4 of the information packet. The first is that everyone in the household must qualify as a first-time home buyer. There are exceptions to that, which I'm going to discuss in just a few minutes. But even households who qualify for an exception would need to sell their current home. If you're a current homeowner, you'll need to sell it prior to closing on the affordable condos at 34 Fairbanks. The second eligibility requirement is that a household's income and assets have to be below that maximum allowable income and asset limit. It's on your screen now, but I mentioned the income limit is 80% of the area median income. So if you're a one-person household, for example, that limit is $82,950. If you're a two-person household, the limit is $94,800, and so on. The asset limit is $75,000 for the household. And I'll talk a lot more about that in just a few minutes. The third eligibility requirement is that you need to be pre-approved for a mortgage. And then the fourth is that households can't have financial interest in the development or be a related party. So these condos are being offered by the developer Walcott or Northland Residential LLC. So if you work for them or if you're related to them in some way, you may not be eligible for this lottery. Just to move back to first-time home buyer. So everyone in the household has to be considered a first-time home buyer. All household members are considered first-time home buyers if they haven't, within the last 3 years, owned a home. This includes through joint ownership. So if you owned a home with your spouse or partner and you were on that deed, you were still considered to be an owner of that home within the last 3 years. There are 5 exceptions to the first-time homebuyer rule. They're listed out in detail in the information packet, but the 3 that come up the most often are, I'm going to list here. So the first is someone that's referred to as a displaced homemaker, and this is someone who hasn't worked outside of the home for years. They have been caring for the home and the family. They've owned a home with their partner or spouse within the last 3 years, but they no longer own that home because of a divorce or legal separation. So they are no longer on that home's deed, but they have owned a home technically within the last 3 years. The second exception to that first-time homebuyer rule is a single parent with at least joint custody of 1 or more children, or someone who's pregnant that is now being displaced due to a family breakup and they're looking for a new home. The third exception that I'm going to just highlight here is an age-qualified household. So this applies to households with a member who is at least 55 or older, and that person is selling or has sold a home recently in order to purchase an affordable property. If you qualify for any of those 3 exceptions or the 5 that are listed in the information packet, again, you do still need to sell your home before buying a condo at 34 Fairbanks. That might mean if you're in the middle of a divorce, for example, it would need to be finalized so you're no longer on that home deed, that sort of thing. So just wanted to put that out there before moving on to the income limits. Like I said, since these are affordable homes, they're being made available to purchase at an amount at sales prices that are lower than the homes being sold at market rate in the area. In order to qualify, your income needs to be at, your household income needs to be at or below that 80% of area median income amounts that you see on your screen. Those are the amounts that HUD puts out each year. So you aren't required to submit verification of your income on this lottery application. You're just going to be self-certifying what you estimate your income is, your assets are, all of that. But you will be required to submit verification of it after the lottery if you're one of the top lottery households on the waiting list. So again, you're not required to submit that. Just the mortgage pre-approval and the application need to come in now if you're interested in this opportunity. And once you are sent a lottery application number, you're going to be provided with a document called the Documentation Requirements Guide. And that guide details exactly what type of documentation, such as how many pay stubs, how many benefit statements, how many tax returns that we'll need from you, depending on what your sources of income and assets are. You should review the guide carefully because if after the lottery, like I said, you're invited to move forward, you will have about a week to 10 days to get all of that information to SEB. So although we don't need verification now, I still want to give you a basic overview of how your income will be calculated for this program. Income for the affordable housing program is counted as a projection of what your income is estimated to be over the next 12 months for all household members. So all income for household members is included. It includes bonuses and overtime, those types of funds that may not be guaranteed throughout the year. The only exceptions to this are minors. So anyone under the age of 18 in the household who is earning a wage, we're not going to count their wage income. And if anyone is a dependent full-time student who is working, we will only count the first $480 of their wages when we're determining your eligibility. We are required to count gross income, not your net income that you take home after taxes. Although none of us take home the full amount of our salary, it is the gross amount that the affordable housing program requires that we use. How we calculate your income is not one size fits all. So everyone's income circumstances are unique. Some applicants will have a weekly salary that's consistent throughout the year. Other people are self-employed or work seasonally. In those types of more uncertain circumstances, we might need to look further into your past earnings in order to project anticipated income for the next 12 months. And then specifically for applicants who are self-employed, you're going to need to complete a profit and loss statement and provide a supporting documentation to show your business expenses, because we will take your business expenses into account if you're self-employed. There is a sample profit and loss statement that is in the documentation requirements guide. So if you need that, you will have it to fill out. Anyone who's not self-employed, though, it's always your gross income that we're going to count. We unfortunately are not able to take other expenses into consideration, medical expenses, car payments, that sort of thing. We can't deduct it from your total household income for this program. In general, any income that you have been making, we're going to need to assume that you're going to continue making it going forward, unless we have some sort of definitive documentation stating that you're no longer working at a certain job, you won't be eligible for overtime in the coming year, that sort of thing. The income sources that you're going to want to keep in mind, it's all listed out on the application, but not just wage income. If you have any Social Security income or benefits coming into the household, you're going to want to list all of this in your application. A pension, unemployment benefits, assets that are generating income, periodic payments, or support from family members, that sort of thing. There are no minimum household income requirements, but just keep in mind that you do need to qualify for that mortgage pre-approval. And so the bank and the lender that you're going to will have certain requirements in order for you to be granted that mortgage pre-approval that you need to submit with your application. For assets, there's a $75,000 for this affordable housing program. There's a total household asset limit of $75,000 at the time of your application. This includes any funds that you would be using towards a future down payment for the condo. If you happen to have a family member who is generous enough, is helping you out with a part of your down payment as a gift, that is still considered an asset. So you would need to disclose that on your application as an asset. When we talk about assets, we're not just talking about, savings, checking accounts, that sort of thing. But, if you have money in a Venmo account or PayPal account, or the net value of your retirement account, like a 401k or a 403b, you would need to disclose that as well. So you might think it's a little strange that we need to count funds that you have tied up in retirement accounts, especially since many of you might not be planning to access that money for many years. The program requires us to do so, since you could, in theory, withdraw those funds, even though you would have a penalty when doing so. It is only the post-penalty or the net cash value amount that we're going to count. So if you have a retirement account, you would likely be asked to get a letter from the financial institution that you have the retirement account through, and they would be able to list your post-penalty amount. We don't need verification of personal assets such as cars, jewelry, that sort of thing. Any questions on eligibility criteria for the lottery, the housing program? Just a reminder, if you have any questions, you can either type them into chat or unmute. And then I'll go on to talk about the lottery itself.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
I was wondering.
I think you didn't hear me earlier.
Sure, go ahead.
Can I pay more than 3% down payment?
I believe so. I've never had that question before. That's a great question.
Okay, that helps me bring down my monthly mortgage payment, right?
Right. You want to just keep in mind that any funds that you're either paying towards the down payment or you have in a savings account or whatever kind of account, it just can't exceed that $75,000.
Yeah,
But
understand.
yeah, I believe you can. I will get back to you on that if the answer is no. I don't believe it is. If your
Okay.
is your name as shown?
I'm Wei, W-E-I-W-U.
And have you already applied?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so just send me a message in chat if you can right now, just with your email address. And if not,
Okay.
you can email you can email info@scbhousing.com just so I have your email address.
Yeah.
But
all right.
I do think that I'm pretty sure that would be fine. I just haven't had the question before, so I want to double check.
All right, I talked to the Needham Bank, the mortgage guy, and he didn't bring anything up, so.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
don't
you might
know.
not know. I mean, it would be an affordable housing regulation if you can't, but I do not think that's a problem. But I
Okay.
just want to confirm.
All
for
right,
you.
thank you.
Sure. Was there someone else?
I have a question.
Mhm.
I want to talk about the assets for a few minutes. Well, just a second. The net cash value, how does that get determined?
For a 401b or a 401k or a 403b, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so the financial institution, like I don't know what kind of institutions they would be off the top of my head, but if your 401k is through whatever institution, you would be able to contact them and ask for a letter that is going to estimate what your post-penalty amount would be, the net cash value, because they would know what percentage or would be the penalty amount on your current balance. So basically, they will know, and they'll be able to put it in writing for you. But what that equates to is if you have, $50,000 in a retirement account right now, and you were to take all of that money out right now, you might only get $35,000, and it would say that on the letter that they provide. So it'll be different for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if in fact your assets are more than the 75,000, you won't qualify?
Right.
Because I mean, most people who've been working,
Mhm.
For years, should have more than $75,000 in their
Right. Yeah, in a
401k or 403b.
Yeah, I mean, not
So-
everybody's putting away the same amount of money, but yeah, I mean, the asset limit's pretty low for depending on where you are in your career and that sort of thing. But yeah, if the total household assets are over $75,000 in total, you can still, I would suggest if you think you're close, submit all of the documentation to us, and my colleague who will be reviewing applications will be able to, total everything up, make sure that we have the information we need to make that determination.
Would exceptions be made if somebody is approaching retirement age or say, is disabled or has extraordinary medical expenses, that kind of thing?
Unfortunately, I don't believe so. I haven't heard of that, and I want to say no. I just am hesitant to say outright no, just because I am not the person who actually processes the application. But I do not believe I know that we can't take medical expenses and car expenses, that sort of thing, into consideration when we're talking about income. And then for assets, I don't believe so.
Can you just go back over what you were saying in terms of the deed, the deed and the information in terms of getting a pre-approval with the mortgage?
Yeah, so the deed rider is basically like an amendment to the deed for the property. When you buy a property, you get the deed handed to you, and your name will be on it and all of that. So when you are purchasing an affordable property, there's a deed rider attached to it that is basically you're signing off and agreeing that you can't resell the property just on the market without going through and involving the state agency that oversees the affordable housing program, because the property needs to be sold to another affordable buyer at an affordable price. So another thing that the deed rider says is that you can't rent the property out as an investment property. It needs to be your primary residence, that sort of thing. Some of those stipulations don't jive with mortgage products that are going to be offered to you at the bank. So you just want to make sure that the sample deed rider is brought to the bank before they pre-approve you, or before they offer you a mortgage product, because they need to know upfront about the affordable housing program and the stipulations that go along with it. So there is a sample deed rider on the website listing for 34 Fairbanks. So if you go to our website and you find the 34 Fairbanks listing, you're going to see the sample deed rider as a PDF along with the application. So what we're saying is you should bring that sample deed rider along with the mortgage pre-approval standards from the information packet with you, because not every bank is going to be super familiar with the affordable housing program and the types of mortgages that can be accepted for this program. Hopefully that answers it.
So your lender should have experience in these type of
affordable housing, yeah. Yeah. And in the information packet, I think it was page 8 that I mentioned, there's a link in there to Massachusetts Housing Partnership. It's a nonprofit agency that has a lot of connections with lenders and banks who have experience with affordable housing. So there's a lot of lenders listed there that you could go through. Anything else before I go on to the lottery?
Yes, I do have a question. I'm not sure if you know the answer, but is there a minimum age to apply for a mortgage? Like, is it my 19-year-old son, is he able to apply?
He's considered an adult, so I would assume so. Yeah, that's a good question. I've never heard of a minimum age. I would assume it's 18 is the minimum age. But yeah, I would assume he's eligible too. Yeah.
Okay, and then I have a few other little questions. Just say he goes down this road, he makes under 82,000 right now. Just say he goes through the process and with all the stuff going on, he gets approved. But then say 5 years down the road, he makes over 82,000.
Yep.
What happens?
There's no restriction after you close on the property. That's something that I was going to mention at the end, but once you close on the property, there's no income restrictions after that. So if you get a huge raise and you've already moved in and closed on this property, you know, in the fall or whenever it is, August, you get a great new job, you're making a lot more money later on this year, you already closed on the home and you were eligible at the time of purchase. That's fine. Okay, perfect. And then there's another little question with that. I know he's only 19, but just say 5 years down the line, he gets married. Is he able to bring his wife into the home, or like, does someone know he got married, or does he have to verify the second income? No, all of that is, yeah, no one's checking in on income or household documents or anything like that after the fact, or after the closing, I should say. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that. If you were to resell the property, like I said, it needs to have an affordable, the affordable household that's buying the property would eventually need to be, need to qualify. Okay. And then just one question about the down payment. Mhm.
On this 264,000, I don't know the math very well, but what is like 3 or 5%? Is that like
Sure, so let's do it right
10,000?
here.
7,000.
10,000, yep, good guess, $10,920.
Okay. And half of that has to be from his own bank
Just down
account.
the road, we were, family was. Just
Right,
down the
so
road, a
half-
family was,
Sorry.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Nancy, if you still had more to your question.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'll figure out the math. Thank you. No, that's okay. That's okay.
I was just wondering if a family is having trouble making ends meet down the road, would, I understand you're saying we can't rent out the property, but could we have a like a short-term boarder join us in the house to, rent out one of the extra rooms?
I don't think there's restrictions on that because you would still be living in the property as the main occupant.
Right,
Yes, I don't, this is something, again, I'm typing it out here just to check on, maybe a colleague of mine might have had experience with it, but I can't imagine that would be an issue. Because like I said, you are still, as the affordable buyer, the main occupant.
okay,
If you moved out and someone moved in, that would be a different story. You would need
Thank
to
you.
clear it with the state. But yes, I believe that is fine.
and another question, if we share custody of children with an ex-spouse, does the child or do the children need to live with us full-time in order for us to count them towards household size?
I believe you need to have at least 50% custody, I believe. It does not need to be 100%. That's another question that what I would suggest to you is you list them on your application. You can put a note saying that they live with you part-time or whatever percentage of the time, but to be safe, I would list them on your application now, and then as your application is being reviewed, you could let us know that detail.
Okay. Do larger families have a preference in the lottery process?
Yep, so I'm about to talk about that too. So type 2 households, which are larger households, 4-person, 3-person households will have priority for these 2-bedroom units. And I'll go over more of that in just a minute. It's listed in the information packet as well.
Okay. And does a child need to be under the age of 18 in order to count towards household?
Nope, anyone living in the household.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to move on to lottery eligibility. I'm sure you have some more questions on this too, but as mentioned earlier, if interested, you should apply, get your application in as soon as possible, just to get the process started. We're going to review your application along with that mortgage pre-approval that you submit and contact you if any information appears to be missing or incorrect, so you have a chance to resubmit. If you're found to be eligible for the lottery, you will be sent a lottery application number in an email in the form of a series of numbers. So if you're the first person to apply, your lottery application number is going to be A.001. It's just meant to be an anonymous identifier, so your name isn't called out during the lottery. It's not a ranking of any sort at that point. It just corresponds with the order that we received your application and approved you. The email that has your self-reported, the letter or email that you receive is going to also confirm your whether or not you qualify or reported that you're a local preference. So if you've self-reported on your application that you believe your household qualifies for this preference, hold on one.
Uh-oh.
I think we lost her. Not sure if she even knows.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that. Okay, so if you qualify for local preference, meaning that you have reported on your application that you either live or work full-time in Milton, you are not required at the time of your application to submit local preference verification. But if you're one of the top households on the waiting list following the lottery, you will be required to submit verification. That might be a copy of your current lease, a pay stub with your employer's address, utility bill, that sort of thing. Local preference might apply to you, like I said, if you live or work full-time in Milton, or if you're the guardian of a child attending Milton Public Schools. The waiting list for one of the 2-bedroom condos will have local preference, which means that local preference households will have a higher position on that waiting list when compared to other similarly sized households who do not have local preference. More information about local preference is found on the last page of the information packet. On your application, you will have also indicated what your household type is. So this is the question that we were just talking about. You're either a type 1 or a type 2 household. So all household types can apply for this 2-bedroom condo, but type 2 households will have priority for the 2-bedroom home. So this means that all type 1 households, if you're a single person, for example, will be behind all type 2 households on the waiting list that are established following the lottery. There's additional details, again, on household composition and household type on page 10 of the information packet. But just for your reference, households, all households that have 3 or 4 members are considered type 2 households, so you'll have priority in the lottery, as well as some 2-person households. So if you're a head of household with 2 dependents, you're a type 2 household. If you're a 1-person household who requires an additional bedroom due to a medical need, you could be considered a type 2 household. Again, the lottery application deadline is July 21st. The lottery itself is going to be held on August 8th, and it's in the same format as this. So it's a Zoom call at 6 p.m. Depending on the number of applicants, I may be doing the drawing electronically, meaning I would be, instead of pulling numbers from a box, I might be doing it digitally and sharing screen with you. If there isn't, dozens and dozens of applicants, I may be just doing the box drawing. Shortly after that lottery drawing, I will be sorting the waiting list, and top households will be invited by SEB Housing to move forward to reserve the unit, finalize their mortgage, and buy the property. During the lottery, every lottery number is picked. We don't just pick 2 because there's 2 condos. Sometimes when we think of lotteries, we think there's just, 2 winners if there's 2 homes, or 1 winner in a lottery drawing. But this lottery is really just held in order for us to establish the waiting list order. If you're watching the night of the lottery, it's sometimes difficult to tell what your placement actually means, since all household types, everyone who applied is going to be mixed in together. After we sort the results into the waiting list, that's when it becomes much more clear. So if for example, if a type 1 household is drawn first in the lottery, they're still going to be behind all of the type 2 households on the waiting list. Also, households who were entered into the lottery might be found ineligible later on by SEB Housing, or they may just decide not to pursue buying the home. So if you're drawn later in the lottery, for example, 4th or 5th, you shouldn't lose hope at being able to move forward in this process. You could still have that opportunity to purchase one of the homes if someone or multiple people ahead of you on the waiting list drop off. So following the lottery, we do our best to send the waiting list out that night. They'll be sent by email When you're reviewing that email, you're going to find your lottery application number, so that A.001, for example, and you can see exactly where you fell on the waiting list after we sorted the results by priority, by local preference priority, by household type. If you're one of the top households on the waiting list, we're going to send you an invite to move forward in the process, which is when you'll be asked to submit all of your income, asset, and tax documentation so we can confirm your eligibility for the affordable housing program. So hopefully by that point, you've been able to check out that documentation requirements guide and have all of that information together. You'll have about a week to 10 days, like I said, to get all that information into SEB Housing. And once we receive your application package, we'll review it, respond to you within a few days. Most applicants do not submit a 100% complete application on the first try. There's a couple reasons for that. The first just being that there's a lot of information required. And then the second, sometimes even if you do submit all of the information we need, some of what we have generates further questions. So there might be some bank deposits or some things on pay stubs that we need to ask you about. That's just why we encourage you to prepare documentation ahead of time, so we're able to move on, move your application through the process as quickly as possible. So if you are found eligible by SEB Housing for the affordable housing program, this is top households who have been asked to send their information into us, their income information. Our next step would be to send your file off to the State Department that oversees the affordable housing program. They used to be called DHCD, the Department of Housing and Community Development. They just had a name change recently. They're now the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. They do a file review and they give us the green light that you're eligible to move forward. Once EOHLC, their new acronym, has approved your application, the process then turns out to be very similar to the process for purchasing a market rate home. I do want to remind you too, this is in our information material, but if you're one of these top households, you made it this far in the process, you may decide to hire an attorney to assist you in navigating through the home buying process. We encourage people to do that. It's perfectly acceptable and likely the smart thing to do. It's a huge decision to purchase a home, so we understand that you want to be well represented and understand the process. So once the state has approved your application, we're going to put you in touch with the owner of the unit. If you haven't already scheduled that tour with Elaine, who was on the call earlier, you'll be doing it then. You will complete a reservation agreement. And in order to reserve the home, you'll be putting down a $500 refundable deposit at that point. After you reserve the home, you'll have 10 business days to sign a purchase and sale agreement and place the required 1.5%, which is half of that down payment. You'll be putting, at the PNS signing, you'll be putting down 1.5% of the sales price minus that $500 that you just paid to reserve the unit. Your purchase and sale agreement is going to include certain agreed upon contingencies and also a closing date. This is one of the final steps in the home buying process. So at that point, the finish line is right around the corner. Once that P&S is signed, you will need to go back to your bank who issued your mortgage pre-approval and obtain a mortgage commitment. That mortgage commitment letter, their process for that, the lender's process for that, depends on the lender. So generally, they're going to need to review all of your documentation up to that point, your purchase and sale agreement, the deed rider, and they'll do an appraisal of the condo. Households have to remain eligible up until their closing date. So about 3 to 4 weeks prior to the closing date, we're going to conduct a final review of your file. At that point, we'll be requesting updated pay stubs, bank statements, your mortgage commitment letter. We will then forward your final package to the state again for their final review. If your eligibility has been maintained, you're still under that income limit, asset limit, etc., you'll move towards closing. Once you've closed on the condo, you can move in. There's not going to be, as I mentioned earlier, any future income or asset eligibility reviews. You don't have to worry about getting a raise in next year or, even later on this year, that sort of thing. And that really covers most of what I was going to go, that covers everything I was going to go through from the information packet. There is one question I have here that's a direct message, but I will just call it out. So someone had submitted a question about having a person in their household with a disability. Does that help priority in the application? Unfortunately not. There are no other priorities other than local preference or just having the a higher household type. So no, unfortunately. Again, I know you might have some questions, but you can find the lottery application number, lottery application itself on the affordable, for the affordable condos at 34 Fairbanks Road in Milton on our website. The information packet is there as well as the deed rider. Any last questions before I let you go? I know this was a lot of talking, and a lot of information, especially if we've already reviewed the information packet, but hopefully we've been able to answer most of the questions about the property early on as well.
I have two questions.
Sure.
One is, I never got your name, sorry.
Yeah, my name's Catherine from SEB Housing.
Okay, and the other is, what agency did Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, what were they before?
Yep, so they were DHCD, the Department of Housing and Community Development. They just changed their name, I want to say about a month ago.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi,
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Sure.
Did the asset limit, does that include the total amount you have in your checking and savings account in the bank?
Yep. Yeah, so it covers checking, savings, Venmo, PayPal, stocks, bonds. And when I say stock bonds, it's the net cash value, just like a retirement account as well. So it wouldn't be necessarily the full amount in there, but the amount that you would get if you were to cash it in.
Okay, and is that a hard cutoff at the 75,000, or if you're any amount over, you're still considered?
Yeah, unfortunately, it is a hard cutoff, the 75,000. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Like I said, though, for that asset limit, if you think you're close, submit the verification, and we'll, my colleague who is reviewing and is an expert on this, reviewing the applications, will make that determination for you.
But if you know you're over, don't bother, right?
I mean, if you're way over, it's such a short application, you could submit it, but yeah, I mean, if you know that you're way over, I would say just hold off or ask us questions if you're not sure if something is considered an asset. It is a low amount. I acknowledge that, especially for people who are have been working for a while and have saved money up over the years.
Hi, I have a quick question.
Sure.
In terms of the mortgage, in the mortgage rate, will there be some kind of affordable mortgage rate, or is it going to be the mortgage rate that's out there?
So the interest rate, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it'll be the current interest rate. What I will say, though, and this isn't really part of your question, but we do get questions a lot about the tax rate and whether the annual taxes on the home will be based on the market rate value of the home or the affordable price. So I'm just going to put it out there. It's on the affordable price. So if you do the calculation, $264,000 home with the Milton tax rate, what it currently is, it would be about $3,000 in taxes on this home.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with the mortgage rate, but just want to put that out there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Thank you. That was helpful.
Yep.
Catherine, if we had a specific question about the assets, should we, would you prefer us to reach out directly to your colleague that you referenced?
No, I would say send an email to info@sdbhousing.com. Kind of most of our general questions go through info@SDB Housing, and then it's filtered out to whoever is covering specific properties or myself.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say that's the best bet. Email that, we'll get back to you within the day or so.
And you had suggested that we start to acquire the documentation, even, excuse me, even though it doesn't need to be submitted with the initial application. I'm wondering how far back do we need to get documentation? Is it just current values, or do you need, a year ago, that kind of thing? 3 months
So
ago?
if you haven't applied yet, when you do, the documentation requirements guide is going to have all of that detailed out for you. So like how many pay stubs, that sort of thing. I believe it's 5 pay stubs across the board. It is 3 years worth of tax returns. I know that. I believe it's 3 months worth of bank statements. But all of that will be in that documentation requirements guide for each of the, line items of assets and income, that sort of thing.
For those
Yeah,
bank statements, do you know if it's each month, like so 12 months for 3 years, or if it's just the total at like the year end for the 3 years?
So for bank statements, it's 3 months. And yeah, it would need to be the full monthly statement. So it can't be like a copy of a receipt from an ATM or something like that. It needs to be the statement that you can get online. For taxes, it's 3 years. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Catherine, my apologies for missing this. The documentation requirement guide that you're mentioning, I don't see that listed.
So did you already apply?
No, I have not.
Okay, so yeah, we make that available to anyone who's applied and been approved for the lottery. So it will either be sent to you as a PDF with your lottery application number, or it will be a link within that email that you get from us once you're approved for the lottery.
Great, thank you.
No problem. Yeah, you still got some time. I mean, you wouldn't need to think about gathering any of that for a few weeks anyway, because the application deadline isn't until the 21st of next month.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else before I let you go? Again, just encourage you to get those applications in if you're interested. You have until the 21st to do so, along with your mortgage pre-approval. And then if you haven't already, go to our website to find the 34 Fairbanks listing, because it has the deed rider that I mentioned. It has the information packet and the application.
And how soon will this presentation be on YouTube?
So once I end it, it will, it'll take a minute to download, but then it should be up before 8 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you guys had great questions. I have a couple people to get back to, but yeah, great group, great questions. I appreciate all of you attending. And it does look like, as Elaine said, a great property, a lot of character. They have put a lot of thought into the renovation, and sounds like a great neighborhood too. So I appreciate all of you taking some time out, and any questions that you think of later on, info@sebhousing.com or the number that's on your screen are the best ways to get in touch with us.
Does SEB ever have any properties where the asset limit is greater than 75,000?
Only for properties that that are for members or households with members over the age of 55. So the asset limit jumped quite a bit to $275,000 for those lotteries. We don't have many of them, but that is the asset limit if you have a member in your household over the age of 55 for other lotteries. Not for this lottery if you have someone in your household over that age, but for lotteries that are strictly for that demographic.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so this will be, oh, do you have another question?
Yeah, just real quick. How many applicants are there typically for the lotteries?
So it varies greatly. For, like, we have rental lotteries that we have hundreds of applicants, sometimes thousands, but for home ownership lotteries, it's typically under 100. Right now, there's only 8, I can tell you, that have been approved for Milton. Still another few weeks, so I'm expecting that there will be 20 at least. but it really is difficult to pin down how many there will be, just because sometimes we have a rush right at the end. But yeah, it's hard to say.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, so this recording is going to be on our YouTube channel, SCB Housing's YouTube channel. It's also going to be posted on that website listing for 34 Fairbanks. So, and if you have any questions, or if you're sending in your application, you can send it to info@scbhousing.com.
I have one quick one. Does
Sure.
the HOA ever go up?
Does the what?
The HOA ever go up?
So it can, my understanding is it can, once the property is sold. If there's a condo association, they can raise it, but I don't know for sure how long that would be, how long it would need to be until that happened. Why don't I, Gail, if you could send me your email address in a direct message right now.
Through the chat?
Yeah. Or just send it to info@scbhousing.com. I'm gonna triple check on that for you. But I believe that it can. It will not before closing though. I know that for a fact.
Okay. So I would just do info@SCB Housing.
Yeah, just send that
Okay.
question over there and I'll have your email address. So once I check in on that for you, I can respond.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to end the call, and the recording will be up on our website and on info@scbhousing.com. And once again, I really appreciate all of the questions and your attendance tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah,
Thank you. Have a
thank
good
you,
night.
Catherine.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good luck. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you.